guys, Renata Sandor here from MeetAdvisors.com, and I'm joined with Jeff Newcorn, founder of R. Jeffrey & Associates. How are you today?
Oh, I'm feeling great today.
Good. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come out to our office. And I want to start off with asking, who are you and what is R. Jeffrey & Associates?
Well, first of all, I'm a business owner, entrepreneur. I started my business about 15 years ago, and trying to keep the life, sort of one of these interesting people who is more than just a business owner. We were talking a little off camera before this. I'm a marathon runner and a biker and a dad, so I do a lot of different things. I'd like to do most of them well. And I started a company about 15 years ago, it's 1998, makes that 16 years ago, that happened to kind of come my way. I didn't necessarily find it, it found me. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have their antenna up, looking for opportunities, and they hear great ideas, and they want to proliferate the idea. And when I heard about the type of tax credits that kind of came across my radar screen, I wasn't in the tax credit business. I didn't know much about them, but that's what started that was a spark. If I didn't know about certain business tax credits, and I had worked with a lot of other financial professionals, my thought was there's a lot of people out there who don't know and would probably pay to know. Or at least pay for the opportunity to get some of these tax credits. So it's been a great ride. Interesting ride over the last 15, 16 years.
Wow. And what have been some of the challenges you've seen yourself growing your own business?
I think in the early part of growing the business, you don't really have a good idea of what your market's going to be. I think when we first started, the idea of found money, which is essentially what we're doing, where these are tax credits. The idea of found money was good, but where would it land? Which segment of the industry, of the country, would want to know about these? And we tried a few different things, and some of them failed, and some of them worked really well. And I think one of the challenges of any small business is finding your market. Find out who's going to continue to use your service over and over again. And I think entrepreneurs just have to have an idea, but they need to be patient and try different areas, and then eventually it'll get some traction, and then they need to leverage, continue to build in that sector. And not only within that sector, let's say you have a Burger King, McDonald's client, or other, the notion needs to come to you, well, how about other restaurant opportunities? And who do these, see, everybody knows everybody. Who in these restaurants know other people? Or if you ask them, sometimes, I didn't realize this at first, ask your clients, who would you recommend this to? Or who should I be talking to? Because you may have an idea, I'll talk to more Burger Kings or McDonald's. But in actuality, they may say, you should be talking to CPAs. My CPA never told me about these credits. Maybe you should talk to the CPA Society. So sometimes you let your clients kind of guide you to where you need to go.
And going off of that, who is your ideal client? So who do you typically work with?
The way that our business has evolved, we have worked with a lot of McDonald's clients. We tried a number of different industries. Staffing in the early days worked well in the late 1990s. And then we started to get some real traction in the fast food industry, specifically McDonald's. And the more ideal client for us we've identified are the ones that just don't, they're small enough, they don't really know about these types of credits. Either they have ignored them, or their accountant hasn't mentioned it to them enough, or at all. And we've actually had very good luck with, in the McDonald's segment, but also with women owner-operators. With entrepreneurs, they like to have a relationship, and we're essentially in a financial services business. And I have found that explaining these things to the women owner-operators tends to land more, and they tend to take more of an interest, because we're going to have a relationship with their business. We're going to service it. There's problems, we're going to fix it. When they want to talk about it, we're there to talk about it. And sometimes I find that sometimes men are very clinical. Get the best price, get the lowest price, always be looking, don't have any loyalty. And I think the women tend to have more of loyalty. Not all, but the tendency is. So we tend to gravitate more. One of the biggest events we do every couple of years is with the Women McDonald's Owners Convention that they have around the country. And that's really launched us and focused us in on more of a women McDonald's owner, but not to the exclusion of others. But you ask the best, that's typically the best that we have.
And what are some of the challenges you see your clients having?
I think our clients are typically challenged, especially in the the fast food arena. Even most recently, the issue of minimum wage has come up, and there's a lot of chatter about that and a lot of concern about that. So if they're going to have to pay people $15 an hour, it's going to affect their cost structure, and it's going to cause the price of their product to rise. Or if it doesn't rise, it's going to diminish their profit margins, and it's going to make it harder for them to expand. So a lot of the people who I work with are they're very sensitive to pricing, and they're constantly looking for ways to continue to make themselves more profitable, keep more of what they make. And I think that's why this issue of the tax credits that we do has kind of caught on with them, because the traditional way of growing a business is to sell more or to reduce their expenses or both, and they don't think about tax credits. That's kind of that's outside the normal business 101 arena.
Yeah.
So,
And so moving away from challenges, what do you feel is your greatest accomplishment thus far since starting your business 16 years ago?
Well, I think, there's a lot of people who sell into or want to sell into the McDonald's system. And it's a very well-organized system. It's a very profitable, successful company based here in Oak Brook. And I think my success has been sort of falling into my first couple of McDonald's clients through a friend of mine, sort of inadvertently, a circuitous way of getting into the McDonald's system. And then I started going there and realized that they didn't have what we did. And I would then start attending most of their owner-operator shows, both locally and nationally around the country. And we've grown into a very significant business amongst their franchisees. And it's been a lot of hard work, a lot of attention to making sure that we're treating them very well, and that we're always keeping our business very, clean and very transparent. And, it's in the McDonald's system. There are a lot of people who love to sell to them. And we got in and we stayed in because we did things right and we did things well. And that is a major accomplishment, a major reason why we're still doing as well as we're doing.
And earlier you mentioned you do a lot of things.
Yes.
So you have a business.
Yes.
He's run 45 marathons, doing 6 this year. And you're a dad, and you bike a lot as well. How do you do it? How are you able to manage all of these different great things?
I think a lot of it's priorities, knowing what you like to do. In my business, I empower my staff to do a lot of the running of the business. So they're working sort of in the business while I'm working on the business. I do these trade shows, as I mentioned. And I realized that the high energy level that I think a business owner really needs to have ongoing can be supplemented through exercise. I just happen to have found a couple things that I'm able to do and I like to do. I like to meet people. It's not just the running anymore after 45. It's the exposure I get to running marathons from New Hampshire and Florida and Boston and all the experiences you have there. And from that, you learn to be able to relate to people better. Just this past week, we biked through Iowa, and I've met some of the most decent, wonderful people just riding a bike through Iowa. Not only the bike riders, but the people in the various towns. And I just kind of find people interesting, and I love to find out their story. And I think that my enthusiasm is sort of contagious. And my clients kind of find it interesting and quirky, but they find it endearing as well. And my business is fun, so I do try to balance that because life is not all about one thing.
Yeah.
And I wake up every day with different things to do and a lot of passion.
Good. You're not bored.
No, my life is definitely not boring.
So what is that one piece of advice that you would give to our community of entrepreneurs on MeetAdvisors?
It's funny. I thought about that question early on when you alluded to what are some of the things, the one thing. It's kind of 1.5 things I would advise. Number one, actually, early on when I started my company, a friend of mine suggested that I get a board of advisors, people who would sit around, business owners that I had found successful, and they're either friends or other in the community, and convene maybe a lunch and tell them what I was up to and get their ideas about marketing and human resources and hiring and the things that make a business matter, and where they're not going to charge me, for the service because it's early on. And people who I respect. And I really got some great ideas early on about establishing, and since then keeping, a board of advisors. My bookkeeper is on my board of advisors. My wife is on my board of advisors. My CPA is. And the other half I mentioned is I have a CEO coach. Mm-hmm. So I personally find that as a company of 5 people, you don't always know the answers, but if you find somebody who's good at any business or business athlete, if you will, a CEO mm-hmm. is kind of a business athlete. They all have coaches. They have people that are guiding them what to do. So years ago, I hired and still maintain a CEO coach. So in the umbrella of advice, I long ago gave up the notion I know everything, and I seek others' opinions on guiding me, giving me options. Ultimately, it's my decision, mm-hmm. but I wouldn't be where I am without having the help, the loving and caring help of my advisors.
And what's your website? Where can people find out more about you?
We're at www.rjeffrey.com, and we're real easy to find. And we're located in the Chicagoland area in Des Plaines, so we're a local company, and we're not hiding from anyone. We're easy to find.
Guys, check out rjeffrey.com and check out MeetAdvisors.com for more videos and blogs. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.